Hello, kids. This is Unit 7 for Grade 8 Science, which is Genes and Inheritance, right? Now, this is a very fun topic to cover as it's part of the biology, and this tells us how, we take different traits in our families, or how different, specific, uh, you can say, features are transferred from parents to their offsprings, right? So the first and the most important thing is the idea of genes. So what are genes, right? So genes. When we talk about genes, these are the genetic code, right? Genetic codes that contain information uh, about features, right? Let's say if my in my family the height is a bit long, so that is one genetic code that is turned down in my family, that my sister, my brother, my cousins, we all are very well heighted, right? But we all of us have black eyes, right? Or dark colored eyes, right? Some people have colored eyes. So these are genetic codes that are transferred from one from parents to their offsprings, right? So what are genes? I discussed that inside animal cell, right? If we talk about animal cell, there is a nucleus, right? And the nucleus contains DNA, right? What we call as chromosomes, right? So we've got chromosomes, and these chromosomes contain genetic information, right? So in the assessment, there was this question that which part of the cell contains genetic information. Please use the word nucleus. Reason being, it's the part of the cell that we're talking about, and not we're not referring to chromosomes. Chromosomes are present inside the nucleus, right? It is not part of the cell alone. It's the nucleus which is the part of the cell, and chromosomes are just particles inside the nucleus. So these chromosomes are not part of the cell. They are actually the particles or large scale biomolecules inside the cell, right? So please be very differentiative. Although I gave marks for both of them in the assessment, right? Since there was a bit of a confusion by the students that, sir, we thought that we were supposed to write chromosomes over there, so I graded for both. But remember that chromosomes are inside the nucleus, right? And what are these genes and chromosomes, right? So, what are genes and chromosomes, right? Your genes are found inside the nucleus of every cell in your body, right? These genes are found on long threads called chromosomes, right? Genes and chromosomes are made of chemicals called DNA, right? So please differentiate between these terms of DNA, chromosome, and nucleus, right? So what is the importance of these genetic codes, right? And passing of genes, how do genes form? If you remember, I drew up diagrams in the classroom that these genes can multiply, right? And then when they multiply, they are divided into new cells, and they are formed, they transfer the same information with into the new cells, right? So with every new form, new cell formation, when the cells multiply, they also multiply the chromosomes, and those chromosomes are then carrying the information into the new cells of how those cells are supposed to work, right? So the idea of this genes, it's not much of a complicated topic in the book as well. Neither it's much of an evaluation because it's a very detailed topic for O levels, right? But at your level, we cannot go into the molecular biology, right? So at your level, we just discuss what DNA is, and what's the importance of DNA. We do not discuss how this DNA is entirely formed. We just simply call it that it's formed of a chemical called DNA, right? We do not go into the detail of DNA and what these proteins really stand for, right? So the most important topic in your book was variation, right? So what is variation, right? It is when genes differ from slight variations, right? Over here, as you can see this example, that all of these snails are the same species, right? As you can see, there are so many colors of these shells, each one is having a different type of pattern. Some are light colored, some are stripes, and these are oranges, with bulk colors. So this is what we call as variety, right? So what is variation and what are the causes of variation, right? So part of the reason that you have different genes, your genes determine many different things about you, such as whether you're a male or female, or what color hair you have, right? Another reason is your environment, right? Due to the changes in environment, right, that may affect the lifestyle you live in, and because of that, there is going to be a variation, right? For example, if we talk over people who live in colder regions, they are able to adapt to cold environments very easily compared to us who are not living in a colder regions. So it is very hard for us to adapt to those colder environments, right? So that is basically variety. Although we are humans, we're pretty much similar. We share same features, similar features, right? We're all humans, but we have different adaptations to the environment, and that is what we call as variety, right? So usually, what how variety does occur, it is due to when different, let's say, if we talk about the example of cats. Let's say if there was a white cat, right? That bred, if we breed a white cat with a gray cat, we are going to get several forms. Maybe white with gray patches, right? That is one possibility. Or number one, number two, it could be a gray cat with white white patches, right? That's another possibility. Or we can get a completely white cat with just few gray lines, or a gray cat with white lines. So there are many possibilities which can form, right? If we see that two cats, even if a gray cat breeds with a gray cat, there are still possibilities that it would have different shades of gray, maybe light gray, dark gray, some gray with some spots on it, dark spots on it, right? So there are different variations. This is what we call as variety, right, or variation. All right, inheritance. Now, what is inheritance? Now, inheritance is the passing of important genes or successful genes from one parent to the offsprings, right? So, if we look at this cat, as you can see, this is one cat. It's the mother. It has a black kitten, then it has a gray kitten with white spots on it, and then there's striped kitten as well, right? So what is inheritance, right? Inheritance is the passing of features from parents to offsprings, right? This is what we call as inheritance, right? And inheritance, you have several questions in the workbook. I mean, again, I would refer you to look at the workbook questions to have a better understanding where the toes of the if you remember one assessment question, there was a horse. From a small horse, I mean, I'm not good at drawing with these drawing tab, right? So we had a horse example, right? There was a small horse versus turned into a new modern horses which are very large, right? So how this happened, we saw that the toes had several uh, pointers, and then eventually with the ones we have, it only has one big toe, right? So the evidence was toes, right? Everyone wrote about the height and the face and the colors. How can you tell about the face or the color when you don't have living fossils, right? We only have these large horses which are living examples for us, and we can only get the bones or the fossils, right? For these older ones, we only compare the bone structures, right? So compared to these fossils, we can say that they have developed, or over time they have developed into single toe, right? This is the evidence that we do have, right? Secondly, the height was correct. I accepted the answer of height. Reason being, we do have longer bones compared to the ones we have found in fossils which were smaller bones, right? Referring to that these ancestors of these horses, right, being very small, right? And horses grew up, right? So finally, we went into selective breeding and natural selection. If you do remember, I entered a very fun discussion in classroom where we were discussing, different breeds of dogs, how we can cross them and how we create new, forms or new varieties of dog. So we use selective breeding, right? So what is selective breeding? right? In which we begin with a population of organisms with that show variety, right? And partly due to the caused by genes, right? We specifically choose specific traits, right? Let's say if I want to have, let's say if I want to have a gray cat, so I would rather, if I don't have a gray cat, I will start with a white and a black cat, right? And I will try to breed them, right? It will result in several variations, maybe white, right? Maybe black, maybe gray, right? And I will now choose again, sorry, I will now again choose okay, let's talk about the horse example that we have in the right. So we have a slow horse, right, and fast horse, right. If I breed them together, there's a possibility going to be we've got slow and fast horses. In the next, I'm going to choose the fast one again, a fast female, and then breed again with a faster male, right. Let's say we call it FM and FF for female, right? Again, if I'm going to breed this, this is only going to result in faster horses, right? So the child of a horse is called a foal, right? So the foal is going to be fast. So I will keep on repeating this factor, right? Again, I will take the fast horse and repeat this again to get more fast horses, right? And similar way, we had an example of the goat. Let's say we had sorry, sheep, right? Let's say sheep, we had sheep A, B, and C, right? And A being C being most wool, right? So what I need is more wool coming out of sheep. So I need a female sheep, and I need to breed it with a sheep with the most fur on it, right? So I need to keep on repeating this. This is what we call as selective breeding. Why selective breeding? Is because I'm doing this intentionally, right? I'm forcibly mating these animals together to get specific features to be prominent, right? Compared to that, we have natural selection, right? In natural selection, it's the nature that is selecting the best features, right? For example, in the polar region, you only get polar bears or bears with long fur, right? Now, any bear with less fur is not going to survive there, right? Even if you try to put grizzly bear over there, you would find that the grizzly bear would eventually die off due to the cold, and eventually it's going to be let's say if I breed selectively try to breed a polar bear with a grizzly bear, right? Eventually they would have several cubs, but those cubs which are closer or pertaining or retaining the genes of the polar bear are going to survive. Those which are going to retain the grizzly bear are not going to survive, because grizzly bears are able to survive only in the temperate environment compared to the harsh cold environment of the Arctic, right? So this is bit about selective breeding and natural selection. Again, I will refer you to go through the book, and this is the very reason I did not make any revision lessons before, because I wanted you guys to grind through the book and the workbook to be able to understand these topics, because these are more of a contextual based topics. Since these are very limited topics at your level, I can go into very detailed conceptual understanding of these topics, but eventually that is now that is supposed to be in O levels, and hence I'm not going to go into much molecular biology or advanced inheritance or gene multiplication. If you do remember, I did make those X and Y charts right in the classroom. If you remember, those are actually from O levels and not supposed to be taught at your level. If you remember, we had the X and the Y. We discovered how the gender is decided, right? So if it's XX, it is going to be a female. If it's XY, it is going to be a male. Again, XY is going to result in a male, and then Y. This is again going to be this is eventually not possible. So this female and then male. So we discussed all these factors where we discussed how different sorry, this was one is supposed to be a female, right? This is again. So anyhow, we discussed these factors in class. Although these are not included in your topic, so don't go into such details. Just go through this context. I've taken this from an older book because in your book the detail about these was very less. So you can pause this video, and if you want to go through the reading of this context, but again, you can just go through your own book for the amount of text that is available, and that the workbook or the assessment is going to be related to those contexts and not from this book that I'm using, right? This is also for grade 8, year 8 science for Cambridge, but this book is now more used. It is discontinued, right? It was very detailed compared to your book, so which is only has limited information now, right? So I hope these revision lessons will be able to help you out in understanding those topics, and you'll be able to perform very good in the upcoming assessment, as well as the session on the term paper. Thank you.